Okay, all right. I guess we'll just start. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me today on this my first class on AI. Today is going to be a little more on the basic side. We're just going to try to get the fundamentals down before we get a little deeper into like the more heavy duty automation stuff and like actually, doing having AI do your work for you. So our goal here is to really just empower everyone to just use AI in a way that like makes our lives easier, makes our lives better, and like yes, I do record these. And the lives of like the people around us better through using AI. I feel like a lot of people are missing out these days and are uh, just like not utilizing it to their full potential. So yeah, I'm gonna run these every week. I'll vary these between like beginner. I might not go like in progression order. I might jump between like beginner to intermediate to advanced and go back and forth for each week. But you can always join and ask your own questions and like bring your own like cases that you want me to show you how to like automate, how to like make work. And we can all run through them on this call because right now we're pretty small, so we could do individual things. Um, yeah, so I guess we'll jump straight into it. Let me share my screen. You already have the link, so you can follow along there too. Yeah, so this is just like a resource website that I've built for the purpose of this like AI education thing that I'm building. Um, I'll just show you guys around a little bit before we start. So this has right now it only has a few things. One of them is a model arena. Wait, did I break this one? I might have broke. Oh no, it works. Okay, so what this is it allows you to test out the difference between all of the models so that you can see how each one works. So if I just put in some test prompt like okay, so we'll just do the lessons first while my bot tries to fix this. Okay, yeah. So starting with the models that are available. So I'm sure right now it's very overwhelming of like with all the different AI technology out there. Every day I feel like we're getting like somebody's on Twitter or Instagram saying, "Oh, this thing's dead. This thing's the new big thing." It's like there's so much noise out there. It's very hard to just like isolate what's really important and what's really worth following. But at the end of the day, there are like our four core models that are the ones that are leading, like we call them frontier models because they're the ones that are the most useful. So that's ChatGPT is obviously the one that the most people know. We have Claude, which is now the new like up and coming. I think it's always been the best, but it's like the new up and coming competitor of ChatGPT. Gemini's Google's version, and then there's Grok, which is Elon's version that's built into Twitter. So they each have their own advantages, right? I personally use all four of them. If you were to start with one to start your AI journey, I would personally recommend Claude because Claude is the most like it has the most complex thinking capabilities, so it can help you. It really is helpful in making real world decisions. It like considers more factors than any of the other ones do. It's a little more organized. And it can continue it can really perform large tasks without you like constantly asking it to continue things, right? So you can like whenever I build larger coding projects, I can have Claude build a whole project at once, where if I use ChatGPT, I might have to ask it to like continue multiple times. ChatGPT is good for still very good for like brainstorming ideas, something that's a little more free form, where you're kind of just figuring things out, asking questions, like asking generic questions about things. Um, in those cases, ChatGPT is still very good. I also still use it as my backup model for when I do whenever Claude's down, because a lot of these models are down every single day, pretty much. So you'll have to eventually figure out what you're gonna do when these models are down. Gemini is, I don't really use it for too much, but it is like deeply embedded into our internet these days because Google has it as like the first thing when you search for stuff. It's just and also it's pretty good for research, I would say. And the other thing is design is actually their new like up and coming feature where when you're designing websites, front end builds, we do actually use Gemini and their development ecosystem for that. And then there's Grok, which mostly sucks ass, but it's has direct integration to Twitter. So it has, if you're looking at things like current events, things that aren't like deeply documented already, that just happen to show up on Twitter, it's pretty good for that. So if you need like, if you were building something that needs to be aware of current events, sometimes that might be a good use case for that. But overall, again, I strongly recommend you guys starting with Claude just because it's the most versatile, most reliable one. They don't support killing people, you know, all that stuff. Let me just make sure that there's no other people. Let's change that. Okay, okay, back to that. Yeah, so you were asking if Gemini is still the best for image. I would say yes. I think Gemini. So Gemini has a model called Nano Banana, which is the latest one that probably creates the most realistic images to date. But this, I would say this thing gets like leapfrogged every month or two. So it's like 1 month it'll be ChatGPT doing the best, 1 month it'll be Gemini. Grok actually is catching up in terms of image and video generation right now. So this is something that's very hard to say. They also like even like if it says it's the same model, they also change it up back and forth a lot. So it's not reliable. But yes, so Gemini is currently the best. Okay, yeah, so back to the models. So a little bit more about how these AI models work. So this kind of is important because this leads into why AI models behave the way they do, why they fail, why are they successful in certain areas and not others. So the way that an AI model works is that it's a predictive language model. It's not really doing any kind of like logical calculations and like predict like math like calculations internally. It's really just predicting what's the most likely thing that a human would say to answer the question, right? It's trained on language, so it's trained on all of the internet, what people have said in the past, how people have answered questions in the past, and it's trained to have the max, like the highest probability that it creates an answer that is acceptable by human standards. Right. So like you have to understand that it's trained on human language. It's not really like it doesn't internally have an awareness or like understanding of certain concepts. For example, like um if you're asking about like math or physics or like any kind of in-depth concepts, it actually doesn't really have a proper understanding of that, and it's just going off human language. So that's like this is like a reason that AI often fails. And you have to understand where we can use AI effectively and where it's unreliable so that we don't end up using it in the wrong place and then relying on it to, like basically cause issues in our life because we trust it on something it's not good at. So these are some of the things that AI has downfall, some of the downfalls of AI. So like I mentioned before, math, it's pretty bad. It can't even really count numbers half the time. Um, Real-time knowledge is another one where, like before, I mentioned that Grok has real-time access to Twitter X data. So that's like something that they have a huge lead on. But in general, AIs are trained on data from anywhere from like 1 to 5 years ago. So you have a pretty big gap in terms of up-to-date information. So a lot of times when I'm writing code and there's like it and the code depends on a newer library. Let's say I depend on something from Google and they updated it recently in the past few months to a newer version. The AI might be referencing something from 2023 and it's going to be unreliable. So anything that's like really sensitive requires you to be very vigilant as to whether or not the AI is giving you a correct answer. That being said, most of these AIs do have they do have a web search built in. So I'm just okay. So I'm on Claude right now. So they do have a web search that you can turn on. So if you turn on web search and you explicitly ask it to search the web for data, it will do that before returning you an answer. So if you ever need something that's up to date, that is like time sensitive, you can ask it to search the web. So that is a workaround, although it's not really like ideal. And also, it's pretty bad at making judgments. It has like a lot of, I'm not sure if you've heard this before, but a lot of people are saying that the new skill is having good taste and good judgment because AI is not good at either of these things. Um, I I've had definitely given like the decision to AI many times where it just gave me pretty bad design choices. I had it select paint colors for my bedroom. It was pretty ugly. It looks like a Minecraft bedroom. Alyssa's laughing, but you have to you have to definitely be like you have to have a firm grip on the decision, like the taste and judgment when you're talking to AI. And then lastly, the hallucinations. This one's a pretty big one. So AI doesn't, it can make stuff up. Um, this happens usually when you give it too much to process. So AIs have this thing called context, which basically means how many words can I fit into this AI, like this one prompt, this one conversation before the AI starts like not working, right? So they have what we call context. Each model has what we call context limits. So, for example, Claude has 1 million tokens, which is let's say approximately one word per token. But that's like it means that you can fit 1 million words before it just stops working. And they have things that will like summarize it and compact it, but like the truth is these models will start degrading after about 50% context fill. So if you have 1 million context and you used up 500,000 of the context already, it's already going to start degrading on you. You don't have to wait until it hits 100. So that's when when it starts filling up on that memory, it starts losing track of where things were, and it'll kind of make assumptions on what it thought things should have been, and it'll make things up. So a lot of times it'll create things that don't exist. Recently, somebody had an AI do their legal case for them, and it just hallucinated a whole bunch of cases as precedent. So they brought to court saying that, oh, this happened in the past, and you guys ruled that in my favor in the past. And then when these cases were looked up, they didn't exist at all. So there's like a huge lawsuit going on about that. But it's basically not reliable if you put too much stuff in it. And even when you ask for something that doesn't exist and you act as if it should exist, it'll often create something out of thin air to satisfy what you expect. Right? As I said before, this is a model that predicts what you want, like predicts what a human would say in response to it, that you feel like this is an okay answer, not a correct answer. So that's why it'll like sometimes just create things out of thin air. Okay, so I'm gonna get into one of the things that I see people do wrong the most with when they start using AI. So this is what we call the glazer problem. AIs have this they are like I said again, like they are built to say something that humans want to hear. That we think is a good answer. It doesn't have to be correct. We just have to think it's a good answer. So from the beginning, it's trained on whether or not the human agrees with it. So it'll always lean towards agreeing with you, no matter like no matter what you're talking about, no matter if you're right or wrong, the AI will always they glaze you because it's like it wants you to feel good about its answer. So it'll always say that it thinks your idea is valid, that it thinks, it'll always agree with you. It'll think you're good looking. It'll think that your wife is crazy and it's not you. But you have to be very careful when asking AI questions because if you give it a bias and tell it what your side of the like what your side of the argument is, it will almost always side with yours instead of giving you an objective answer. And when we're working with AI, we always want to retrieve an objective answer so that we can, like actually answer the question and like make things help resolve things. Right. So here's some examples. Um, I'm gonna turn on a temporary chat because the thing is these models all have memory. So if you use it in the past and you historically ask it to like, give me like to scrutinize my answer to like give you the objective truth instead of agreeing, it will eventually it'll lean towards being a more objective model. So that's why I'm gonna put it on a temporary chat to try to show you guys what it would look like. Okay. So just something simple like this. Right, it'll give you some like a tiny little pushback. Let's see. Sorry to let someone in. Yeah, so it'll give you a little bit of pushback, but it's always going to say, "Oh, this is a very viable idea. You can carve out a sharp niche or solve a pain point better than existing tools." Like the reality is that this is a horrible idea, that this will never work because there's so many, it's like massively saturated. There's big players out there already. So that's like the biggest problem with all these AIs is it's always going to agree with you. So if you're not very careful about how you craft your questions to AI, you're going to end up in like an echo chamber where your own thoughts are just being echoed back to you, and you're always going to think you're right, and you're just going to get AI psychosis. So let me change this up a little bit. So this is a prompt that would be a little bit different, where we are asking the AI to be straightforward, to challenge the idea, to think about reasons why it might fail, think about things that I'm not thinking about, and actually scrutinize the idea before just simply agreeing. Right. So now it gives you a little more honest of an answer, saying that this is one of the most crowded and deceptively difficult categories that you could compete in. It says that you're early, you're not late. You're not early, you're late. And pretty much this is the correct answer, that this is basically impossible to do. Right. So this is kind of what you want to this is what you want to achieve for AI across all your usage. You never really want to ask it biased questions. Like even if I ask it something where I have to give like where I have my own point of view, I would ask it in a way where I would ask the question and then I would offer it two opposing point of views without letting it know which one's mine so that it can kind of, like it doesn't know to bias towards your solution. And you can always ask it to, scrutinize what you're asking, to challenge the idea and ask for like reasons that it would fail, reasons that I might be wrong. So th this is something that you want to do whenever you ask, but obviously it's very annoying to like type all that in every time you ask it a question. So later in this class, we're going to show you how to build this into your ChatGPT or Claude so that every time you ask a question, it's automatically going to do that for you. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like This void is quite deep.
I have a question more so on
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
the limits that you were talking about prior. So like sometimes when I'm using Claude or ChatGPT, I'll go through like a bunch of stuff and then I'll get like this really long, I'll go through like different iterations and then it'll suddenly run out of memory, right? Is there a way to sort of like transfer that to like a new chat, or are you kind of just starting from scratch?
Um, so it if you run out of memory, um, it's probably better to just start fresh. So
Okay.
there's a point where like if you fill up the entire context, what it does is it starts compacting it, right? It starts summarizing what we spoke about into like it'll kind of lose some of the data there, and then it'll try to make a little more room so that you can add more stuff. But if you've reached that point already, it's going to be significantly degraded no matter how you try to salvage it. So usually what I would recommend is you can kind of ask it to export like the important parts of this message, like just summarize it in a way, and then you review the summary yourself, right? You look at what it's summarized, and make sure that that summary includes all the important points you talked about, so that you can pass it to a new chat, and then in this new chat, you have to actually be more specific and like just like more concise about what you're looking for, what you're actually asking about and looking for, so that you don't hit that context limit again. Because like context limit is whenever you get close to the context limit, it's kind of irreversible. There's no way to go backwards. So you have to be, it's very important to start managing that from your first um, prompt.
Thanks.
Yeah, and also there's you may also want to see what the context limit per model is. So some models have 100K context limit, some have 10 million, right? Gemini probably has the largest one. I know Claude's at like 1 million. Some of them are at 200,000. So you may want to, if you're hitting that issue a lot, you may want to see what model you're using and what the context limit on it is, and if that's something you want to adjust so that you can have more context. Amanda, I probably will not be doing AI and agentic agents today because we're just doing basic stuff right now. But Um, in my series, yeah, like later on for sure. That's like kind of the goal of this is to give you guys a basic foundation for understanding how to interact with AI in general first before we start building automations. Because if you build automations without this knowledge, you're gonna get a lot of automations that give you bad output. It's gonna write bad copy. It'll give you like wrong answers, and you don't want that, especially if you're using this for like work. Different LLM. Do different LLMs affecting how how do different LLMs affecting output? So do we really need the latest to get the best output? Uh, yeah. So different LLMs definitely have different quality of output. Like I've only mentioned four of the biggest ones. These are I would say that for like most general tasks, they're about the same right now. They're all pretty good at doing general tasks. There are also other less known LLMs, open source LLMs, ones that you can get for really cheap. Like there's a lot of services that offer like a variety of LLMs at a cheaper cost because they subsidize it so that they can collect your data. So you can use all those. Um, so the reason I would recommend sticking with one, particularly Claude, is that these LLMs retain memory of your previous chats over time, and they get better at understanding what you need, who you are as a person, and they really like after a while they're customized to you almost. So it's very beneficial to have all that memory under your own account instead of someone else that has like runs these LLMs for you. But yes, they do vary pretty drastically in outputs between the best models and the lower tier models. How many courses will I have? I don't know. I mean, as long as people are interested, I'm gonna keep running this. I have no plans of charging money for this yet, but eventually I might have to. I do spend a pretty decent amount of tokens building stuff like demos and like tools for you guys. So maybe I'll charge us some small amount later on, but for the foreseeable future, I hope to run this as long as people are interested. Okay, so let's see. So we talked about the glazing problem. This is probably if you can get your AIs to not glaze you, you're like already like 60% of the way there. It's like one of the most important things, and you will get much higher quality output if you're able to accomplish this. Okay, so the next part is actually building prompts, structuring prompts so that AI can answer you better. So the more the more context you give AI, that's like the more useful context you give AI, the better the response will be. You have because a lot of people like fall short in that they don't understand how to describe a task to AI. So they ask in a very generic way that doesn't really. And then when the AI responds in a generic way, it's like not good enough for their standards, right? So this is obviously a very extreme example. Like write me a marketing email. Like you could even say write me a marketing email for my premium hair salon brand for this product, and it would still kind of suck, right? Because it's you have to think about this as an employee that you have to give very detailed instructions to in order for it to understand exactly who your target audience is, let's say like what your brand voice sounds like. Is your brand like a premium brand? Is your brand like an affordable brand? What kind of like promotional email do you want to run? How much are you willing to give like discounts? Like there's a lot of things that it's if you give AI the choice to make the judgment, it will make it poorly because, like we said before, AI is bad, has bad taste and poor judgment. So you have to really make those judgment calls yourself and pass them to the AI. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have the AI help you make these judgment calls or help you understand the priorities. What you can often do is you can actually ask AI to help you write the prompt before you submit the prompt to the AI. So let's just go to Claude. Okay, so I guess we can workshop this one in Claude.
What's up, my dude? Thanks for letting me in.
Hello, Kenny. Uh, where is it? Okay, we'll just start with this, right? Um, Actually, I have to use incognito first. We're a say okay, so Claude is actually pretty good about doing this now. They understand that most people don't. Wow, okay, they actually give you selections. It doesn't not all models do this. This is a pretty new feature, I think. And this is exactly what you want to do when you ask it to help you write your prompt. So it's asking you like, what the product is, who the target audience is. So these are questions that you should ask yourself before writing these prompts. Um, this is pretty comprehensive. I mean, even so, like I would say this is pretty minimal. There are certain things you want to consider. Like if you're running a brand, you want the brand voice, you want to understand like who your audience is, right? Like how old are they? Are they male, female? Are they like income bracket? A whole bunch of stuff. But I mean, this is already a lot better than this was last year. They're actually asking you to clarify when you have a shitty prompt. So, This is a little different. It's not really a product, but you can kind of understand how there are different parts of the prompt. Let me just go back here real quick. So there's five elements of the prompt. It's not important to give all of them all the time, but you want to give as much as you know, so that it can really give you a relevant answer. So context is the background. It's like, w- what does the AI need to know about your business, about your like whatever you're talking about? What does the AI need to know to, understand what you're trying to accomplish here? Role is you want to tell the AI what kind of employee it should be, right? If you're asking for like this one where we're asking it to write a marketing email, you would say, you're a copywriter. If you're asking it to review your code, you might say you're a senior engineer that has that's like very strict on security, like a senior security engineer even. Like if you want it to be very tight on security. If you tell the AI what it should be, it can then create an answer that's most likely to be given by someone of that same classification. So that's pretty much goes for anything you ask. If what you're asking for has a specialty and has people that are in that specialty, you should ask the AI to kind of emulate that. So third, the task is like obviously what you want it to do. Be specific. Try to like give it as many details as possible. Fourth are rules and boundaries. So AI actually reacts better to negative instructions than positive ones. And what I mean by that is that if you tell AI, uh, do not do this, like let's say, do not use M dashes or do not, I don't know, like if you give it anti guidance, like anti, like or whatever, like negative guidelines, it's more powerful than telling it to trying to tell it what to do in a positive way. So if you have any hard like boundaries that you don't want it to break past, it's very good to like let it know. And then fifth is just like format how you want it to output it. A lot of this isn't always relevant. Sometimes you just want the content of what you're asking for. For example, the marketing email, you might just want the copy. Like how can I attract this audience group? But sometimes you might want something to be outputted in a specific format for coding. For example, if you want it to be in like a CSV form or in like a spreadsheet form or like JSON or other things that you want it where you need a specific format, then you let it know the format. So yeah, so this kind of to break this down. Uh, First one is context, right? We're giving it brand context. You're a premium hair salon in Brooklyn targeting women 25 to 45. That this is the task. We're writing a marketing special with 20% off. We give it a tone, which is kind of um, what was the third thing? Sorry, it's constraints, I guess. Right. So you want it. You could tone is would be like a constraint where you're telling it to be warm but professional. You could also tell it to like not be formal. For example, like if you want it to be more personal to the people, you would say like, don't be too formal. Um, yeah, these are the guidelines. And then this might just be the format of the output. You want like, three options instead of one. Um, so yeah, this would probably give you a much better output than just asking it for a promotional email for a premium hair salon. Okay, Joe, do you recommend getting Claude Pro early on or sticking to Claude free? Is fine for now. And do you need a coding background such as knowledge in Python to be AI literate and proficient? So I don't, I'm pretty sure Claude Free has, let me just check real quick. I'm pretty sure Claude Free has memory built in already. So let me see. This just gives you more usage, Claude code. Okay, so honestly, I would just pay for Pro upfront, but not because it's better, but because of like co-work and Claude Code. Just we're not there yet. We're gonna do this in like future classes, but those are so incredibly powerful because they can integrate into all your other stuff, like whether it's for work or for other like your calendar, your personal things. It can connect into like your Gmail and write Gmails for you. It can connect into spreadsheets and like run your spreadsheets. It can make PowerPoints for you. So you're going to miss out on those capabilities. I'm pretty sure you're going to miss out on those on free. So I would recommend, like, I mean, $70 is nothing. It's like you get so much out of this that you should definitely just go for the Claude Pro. And do you need Python to be AI literate, or proficient? Honestly, you don't need anything these days. Like, once you have a grasp on prompting, the next step is just understanding like how to systemize your workflows, how to understand a task that you need to do all the time and turn that task into instructions and that AI can follow, right? So you can, let's say, for example, let's say I have to check my email every morning and then I have to respond to any clients that are asking me for new features, right? Like AI can very easily do that as long as you understand how you can describe it and how you can give it the guidelines to perform that task without you. So I don't even like, I haven't coded for like the past half year probably. Like everything I've done has been through like Claude and just vibe coding. And I've been mostly writing in a language that I actually don't know at all, which is like TypeScript. It's a language that's very good for like web development and like front ends, but I actually don't know the language at all. So no, you don't need to know Python or any coding to be AI proficient these days. Amanda, yes. So can you also connect Claude to other applications, Google, Discord? Yeah, so let me just show you guys real quick how. So Claude has a really great desktop app now. I highly recommend using the desktop app over the web interface. So this is the desktop application. It pretty much works the same way. You can still chat with it. Um, so you can actually, isn't it customize? Yeah, so you can connect all these applications, right? So you can hook up your Gmail, Google Calendar, Notion, Figma, everything, right? There's I don't think there's anything that you can't connect to these days. Like everything has an API that you can hook up to, and pretty much everybody has built it for Claude because they know that this is the future. Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna go into that in some of our future classes. I'm gonna show you guys how to actually connect to these different applications, build your own workflows so that you can actually like, for example, check your email and run triage and get tasks done without you actually being at the computer. Kenny, yes, you missed the first half, but I've been saying Claude is definitely my favorite. It's the most versatile and it's also the most deep thinking one. It's able to perform much more complex tasks than the others. Um, is Roddy, is using company paid Claude for personal use a bad idea? Um, no, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's not like you're leaking your company's information or anything. Using personal Claude for work, that's like as long as your work doesn't care, right? It's like eh, in the beginning, it's like j just talking to Claude isn't gonna like that stuff's not gonna go anywhere, honestly. Like people might be worried that like Anthropic has your data, but they're not gonna do anything with the data. Most of the data when they train on it, it's not even like it's not even like stored as like text. It's really like they train it into this neural net that builds this understanding of how text and like conversations work. But like they don't store your actual conversations usually. And they also have a 30-day deletion policy. So I wouldn't be worried about that. But if you get into the realm of doing automations and you start pulling things outside of Claude and start running different workflows on it, that might be a different story. So just be careful if you're going to be using personal Claude for work if they don't allow it. Yeah, that too. If you have a work computer, they're definitely watching. So just it really depends on your company, uh, on how strict they are with it and like how closely they're watching. And yeah, just be careful. I don't know. Okay, so this is the part of the lesson where I show you guys how to build your own personal AI coach or kind of customize your own GPT or Claude to have like those attributes that we previously mentioned, how it is objective, it actually scrutinizes and challenges your thoughts so that it helps you grow and learn things instead of just agreeing with everything you say and like building an echo chamber. So this is something that I want you guys to do live if possible. You guys have the link already. I'm gonna drop it again. But you can do this in Claude or GPT or whatever you have. Just if you haven't set one up, if you're not already used to using one, I would say just go set one up with Claude right now. It's pretty quick. I think you just sign in with Google. Um, and just do this live with me right now. If you go to the site, there's like a copy button. You can just copy it, paste it right in. Uh, right, unmute people. What the heck? Okay, actually, this does work now. You can just keep going. Um, but I do have this. So I built this for you guys. It's something to build your own coach for you. You can follow the same thing that I just showed you. Let me just go back to that thing. Um, right. So you start with this. This first part is just kind of telling the AI about yourself, what your goals are, what your weaknesses are. And then the second part is just going to be telling it to, challenge you to, make you grow, whatever. So I'll fill my own out. You guys can use this one too, but if you're already halfway, you can just finish doing it through Claude or Control Plus. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is a free tool. It's available on the site. So I'll just fill mine out while you guys are filling yours so you can see how it works. It is. Yours work? Oh, okay. This one just takes a little while. Okay. Were you guys able to do both of these, I guess? You guys can use reactions. Just let me know. So this is kind of pretty much what you guys are doing right now. You just create the one on my website just automatically formats it for you. There's also an AI enhanced version where it just compacts everything into a more, I guess, AI understandable format. Um, and then you can just copy the prompt and drop it into either you can test drive it here, where you can test. So you can say something. I guess these are samples that I just gave, but right. So it's like, let's give it an excuse. See what it says. Uh, I don't know if this is what you want. This might be a little too harsh, but I guess it's like you can set the tone of it. You can kind of adjust it and have it back off a little bit. Like I'm not sure if you saw on the previous page there was actually the option to change the like if it's like helpful but encouraging or if it's like brutally honest or if it's like a philosopher or whatever. So you can make this permanent by using Claude project or a custom GPT. So I'm just going to show you guys how that works. So you can create a new project, say AI coach. Um, I think you can just copy it with the whole prompt right into here. So it'll have this as context every time it answers your question. Um, and yeah, so this is something that I've used for pretty much the past year or two in to kind of challenge me to do better in all areas, both in my business, in my own life, with like whether it be for exercising and dieting or like, all that stuff, right? So it's really helpful when to have an AI that actually pushes you to be better when you talk to it instead of talking to you and making you feel good and comfortable in the moment, but in the long term it ends up hurting you. So this is I would say is probably one of the most valuable uses of AI that I've applied over the past few years. That's very easy for anybody to adopt and start using in their daily lives. How's everyone doing on the completion of that? What's up? What? Oh, I mean, you guys can stick around for as long as you like. I I allocated up to 2 hours if you guys spend time asking questions, but this is I I think this was the last thing I was gonna teach you guys. Um, yeah, I mean this is like an example, but I already showed you guys how that works.
Hey Kevin, quick question on the project that you just made. So that
Yeah,
text, did you put that in the when you hit create a project and it's like,
yeah,
what are you
yeah,
trying to achieve? Did you put that there or you put that
yeah,
in
yeah,
the?
exactly, right
Okay,
there.
okay,
So you can just drop it right in
okay,
what are
perfect.
you trying to achieve?
Do you also?
ChatGPT has the same thing. If you
Yeah.
do what is it? I think you have to click explore GPTs and then damn, I
Or
haven't used this in a
is it
while.
projects
Or is it
maybe?
just projects?
Yeah.
I think it's a custom GPT though. It
Mm.
might be because I don't have premium. I do have premium. Hmm. You used to be able to create a custom GPT, but I guess you could use projects too. Um, let me see if
Is it
that
worth it to paste it in the instructions too, or is that like something else?
for the GPT or for Claude?
For Claude.
For Claude.
There's also
Um,
like yeah, if you go back to the projects on the right, there's like a
on the right.
instructions.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually that should sorry, that correction. That actually is the right place to put it because the this is mostly just a description. It does use that a
Mm.
little bit, but the it's better to put it in the instructions if that's a separate thing. Yeah. And the other thing you can do is actually like there's this file thing here available where you can add files for pretty much anything. You can tell it about your life. You can add, for example, like a Google Drive that has all your company documents so that it can understand what your company looks like, what it's trying to do. Um, the more you give it about what you're trying to achieve, the more effective this will be. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's some small stuff that you guys can take a look at later. So we have a prompt library that I built for you guys. This is honestly like pretty simple stuff that you can test out for yourself. Um, some might be more useful than others, but yeah, prompts are really everything. It's how the output of the AI is only as good as what you input. So it's like the most important part about like for to like learn to use AI effectively is to first understand how to ask the right questions and how to make the right judgment calls when using AI. So Joe asked, do projects also have a token context limit as well. Yeah, so projects are essentially the same as a chat. This is no different from a chat. Um, each individual chat will have its own like context limit, but when you're inside a project, Claude also allocates a specific amount for the project itself. So if you chat with it multiple times, so in the first chat, if I let's say tell it about how my business's finances work, how this is where we're at. If I go into a new chat, it might have summarized some of that and saved it into the memory of the so you can actually see it here. You can see that there's project memory. It'll store some of its findings into the project memory so that you can see those across all the different chats. And it does take up a little bit of context, but it's not too much. And each fresh chat you start in the project will pretty much have a full new context. Oh, and another small thing, Claude has multiple models. For everyday simple stuff, Sonnet is good enough. But anytime you're trying to like create something, build something, learn something that's like a little more complex, Opus is definitely the way to go. With the Claude subscriptions, they're pretty generous in terms of how much you can use these. I only hit my spend limit because I have like 10 AI agents constantly writing code for me. So it's like that's like and even then I rarely hit my limits. So you shouldn't have to worry about it. I would honestly just leave it on Opus, um, just because it doesn't hurt to have a little more power behind your questions.
Do you recommend having like multiple Claude subscriptions for multiple purposes? Like, for example, you have one for your personal life, one for like one of your businesses, right? You kind of don't want them because I think you, if I recall correctly, you mentioned that it sort of saves the memory. So, like, for your business
Right.
one, you kind of don't want like your workout one, right?
So projects actually have isolated memory. So
Oh,
each
okay.
project has its own projects are separate from your main chats, right? So if I have all these main chats here, these are actually separate from the each project. So each project only relies on its own memory mostly, I
Mm,
think.
okay.
Like it won't cross-contaminate if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? I am pretty much done here. I think this is like that's a good amount for today. I think this will be enough for you guys to take this new AI coach, experiment with it in your own lives, in your own businesses, see what it comes up with. And then I think next time I will probably start doing a little bit on integrations and some simple automations. So we're going to be trying to connect Claude or like most probably Claude, but we'll hook up Claude with different integrations like Google, Gmail, Slack, Google Drive, and I'll show you how you can create your own workflows, AI workflows that can run themselves. No questions?
Did you use Claude to make your website?
Yeah, I use Claude to make everything, man. It's
Really cool. I haven't made sites with Claude, but I remember when I was using Lovable, they had really good UX UI, but this one looks pretty nice too.
Lovable sucks. The
Yeah,
UI
nah,
UX is horrible.
yeah.
Actually, if you want to make front end like good UI UX, I would actually recommend Google's anti-gravity.
Uh,
So this basically uses Gemini, but Gemini has one of the best understandings of front end UI UX design right now.
mm.
Um, Actually, I can show you something that Lenny built for us for our own website using Gemini. It's not the one. It's like this is a work in progress, but this is like our own website. So it's like these are like animated using Gemini and anti-gravity.
Very cool.
Wait, you're using both Vercel and Gemini.
What?
How are you using both Vercel and
Yeah,
Gemini? I said it's Vers. How are you using Vercel and Gemini at the same time?
Oh, okay. So Vercel is her question was how am I using Vercel and Gemini at the same time? So Vercel has their own like AI front end generation platform called V0, but Vercel itself is just a deployment platform. So what Vercel allows me to do is it allows me to quickly deploy new websites and applications, and it kind of just manages everything for me, right? So like I have all my different websites and projects hooked up. They connect to like the DNS, the domains. It automatically synchronizes. So every time you make a change in GitHub, which is where you manage the code, every time you make an adjustment in GitHub, it'll automatically redeploy your application so that the changes happen automatically. So that's like how I was able to fix the agent thing in the middle of our lesson, right? I just tell my agents, build this out. It once it submits the code, it'll automatically redeploy everything. So that's what Vercel is. And then Gemini is just the model. So you just Lenny was saying that it's he's using both Claude Code and Gemini for this, but you can see that like the UI UX is like very much evolved from what it used to be, and it's like it's very not obvious that this is like AI generated now.
Very cool. Yeah. No more designer jobs.
No, you definitely still need designers. The thing is, I can't even make this. Like Lenny makes this for me because he has an eye for design. Like I said, like taste and like judgment is so crucial for this. Like
Yeah.
I can't make websites that look like this because I don't have that like design like skill in me. I'm like I'm more of like I do all the functional automations, all like the nitty gritty stuff, but like once it comes to design, I can't do it.
It's cool.
All right, any more questions before we call it a day? If not, I will see you all next week. So next week we will be doing our integrations mostly and anything else. If you guys want to see anything specific, just let me know and I will do my best to add it into the lessons.
Yep. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, bye guys.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Yeah, let me end this thing. Zoom is so different from what I used to.